I just wanted to give you an example of what happened last night, because I think it speaks to what we're looking at now. Last night, every time I turned up the volume, and I'll accept I had moments of the evening on mute, but every time I turned up the volume last night, I would hear people open their speech by explaining that they had been silenced, and they would then continue to go for 10 minutes about how they had been silenced. I remember what it was like to be silenced. The microphone gets turned off on you and no one else gets to speak. But last night we had speaker after speaker tell us how bad it was that they weren't allowed to be heard. Then we had one member last night, the member for Flynn. The member for Flynn opens the speech by saying how outrageous it is that it's now only 10 minutes and not allowed to speak for 15. The member for Flynn finished after 8 minutes. And then after all the conversation that we had yesterday from those opposite, saying that the 10 p.m.'s finish time was exactly the same as a gag, that it made no difference at all, they ran out of speakers at 9:45. Everybody who wanted to speak was able to.
What's been proposed by the Leader of the House is neither necessary nor desirable. What should happen is the Parliament should consider this bill using its normal procedures, giving all who want to speak the opportunity to do so for the normal speaking time of 15 minutes, giving all who want to the opportunity to move amendments and to have them considered through the consideration in detail process that normally applies in this Parliament. And the fact that that is not being done is very unfortunate. It is, in substantive terms, the second use within the first 2 sitting weeks of this Parliament of this new gag mechanism that the government has used its numbers to give itself the power to do.
What used to happen wasn't that you got 10 minutes to speak on an amendment, wasn't that you got 5 minutes to speak on an amendment. It used to be, when he was sitting on this side, you didn't even get to move the amendment. It wasn't even put to the House. So if we have come up with a mechanism which allows there to be a mover moving amendments, many of which we will not agree with, but they get to move them, they get to explain why, there can be discussion in the House before the vote, and the House gets to make a decision. We make no apology for that. We make no apology for using a democratically elected House for democratic purposes. But the final thing I'll say, for the examples he just gave the game away at the end, where he said we should just keep the normal processes, 15-minute speeches. You know what that means? It means we don't make a decision this month. It means we don't make a decision next month. It means what they are asking for actually has nothing to do with procedure. They have spent 9 years wanting to make sure that we don't make a decision on action on climate change. And right now, the only reason they are opposing the debate management motion that's in front of us is because it says we're going to make a decision on action on climate change this week. That's what this motion decides. And those opposite, go for it. If you want to vote against making a decision this week, just know, I don't know what message you thought those opposite were given during the election campaign, but it's an odd one to listen to the Australian people and say, oh, what they're wanting is for us to continue to delay acting on climate change. It's a strange message to be hearing, a very strange message to be hearing, particularly when you consider the seat that the manager of opposition business represents. But if you want to vote in a moment that we don't take any action on climate change this week, go for it. It's your democratic right, and I will always defend the democratic rights of members of this chamber, even when they are so determined to be wrong.